Chapter 43, Hypertension and Genetics, which is specific counseling training for the hypertension genetic test. And you will find this test here, and it has two roles. It's good in prevention, helping you to prevent hypertension even if you're genetically predisposed, or it helps you improve treatment. It's not necessarily helpful in early diagnosis because, to be honest, you can just take any blood pressure measurement device and test if you have high blood pressure. You don't need a genetic test for this. However, in prevention and early treatment, this kind of test is indeed helpful. So it could be recommended to people without hypertension, as well as with people that already have it and want improved medical treatment for it. So as I said, here is the hypertension sensor, and it has the two functions, prevention and better treatment. And here is one of the genes. In case this table doesn't mean anything to you, please do watch the simple disease risk statistics. They will explain everything to you. Just quickly, here's the result of this person. This person is one of 33% of the general population that has the same genetics. They don't have a predisposition to high blood pressure, and the other genetic types have a 6.1-fold increased odds ratio of 6.1. Again, in simple disease risk statistics, this will be explained in more detail. And here is the science behind it, in case you want to check up on our claims. The next gene, let's say 20% have the CC genotype, and they have a 1.4-fold increased risk for high blood pressure. And the ADRB1 gene, 50%, so half the population, also has an almost 2-fold increased risk of high blood pressure. And taking these three genes into account, or in combining them, we look at each one of those genetic variations. This is the genetic result, and here is the odds ratio telling us the risk for having high blood pressure. And only one of them confers a risk in this case. It could be that all of them are negative and it's very high risk, in which case you would be on this scale here in the red area, or all of them are okay, you're in the green area, and this person has a quite positive type of results, so this person is around here. So this is the scientific stuff, which I usually wouldn't explain to the patient too much because it's it just gets too statistical and complicated. I would say this here's the bar, this is the optimal case, this is the worst case, and you are here in this case. So it's quite good. If the person would be here, I would say prevention is very important for you, especially also the checkups, because you have a very high likelihood of developing the disease. And with certain preventive measures, we can reduce your risk, reduce your blood pressure. And the preventive advice, you will find out a whole page of the single prevention steps and recommendations that you should follow. So do read through them once. I'm just quickly summarizing them. One is do not smoke. Smoking increases blood pressure. So it's not just lung cancer that causes problems, but also smoking. Alcohol should only be drunk in moderation, preferably red or white wine in this case, because it has lots of antioxidants. It can actually be beneficial. Drinking more increases blood pressure. Having optimal body weight is also important. Obesity, being overweight, increases your blood pressure. Regular exercise, 30 minutes several times a week would be beneficial. That reduces blood pressure. Salt, table salt use is also detrimental for blood pressure, so you should try to reduce it under 6 grams per day. You should follow a balanced, healthy diet with lots of fruits and vegetables. This will also improve things. And you should measure your blood pressure regularly. So get yourself a blood pressure machine, and then you can just measure it and keep an eye on your blood pressure. So that's the prevention. If you follow these steps, you've modified your lifestyle in such a way that you give your body the best chance to maintain optimal blood pressure. And the second thing is better treatment. In some cases, lifestyle interventions might not be enough, and then you will have to start with drug intervention. And there is a training which I would really recommend. It's about the pharmacosensor, pharmacogenetics, which explains how drugs might either cause a side effect or no effect at all based on genetics. The concept is a certain drug which you might use to combat high blood pressure is broken down by a certain gene. And if this gene does not work, it might not be broken down at all. And then if you take it every day, you increase the amount of the drug in your body until you start getting extreme side effects. So what we can do is we make a list like this, and you can see the different types of drugs. The effect you would expect: normal, non-low, normal, likely higher, and how fast the drug is broken down. So the first drug here is broken down 100%, normal speed, and the second drug is not broken down at all. So if this person would take this drug several times, the level will go up, and it could cause very severe side effects and would take very long for the body to recover. And then the recommended dose would be adapted to the genetic breakdown speed. So if it's not broken down, you shouldn't use any of this drug, and you should use an alternative as possible. This drug here is broken down only half as fast as it should be. So only half the dosage would be required, and again, it would be good if you could use an alternative. So as you can see here, certain drugs are not a problem, others are, because of the state of genes. And then it would be good to prefer some drugs that are broken down normally and avoid the ones that have reduced breakdown. So here we can really improve the medical therapy, which is probably the biggest benefit of this genetic test. Many people take blood pressure lowering drugs, and it's important to have the right drug in the right dose to have the right effect and avoid side effects. And that's the end of chapter 43, hypertension and genetics as specific counseling training for the hypertension sensor.